a small-town high school, one quiet girl found herself at the center of a storm she never asked for. On what was supposed to be the happiest night of her senior year, everything changed with one shove. But what happened next? It wasn't weakness. It wasn't rage. It was something far more powerful. This is the story of Leah Brooks, and the moment she chose her voice over silence, and changed everything. If I had been someone else, someone who wasn't a black girl, would this have happened? He shoved her in front of the entire school. What she did next left the whole gym frozen. Ever have one of those nights where everything finally lines up? That was Leah Brooks's prom night, April 23rd, Willowbrook, Oregon. Maplewood High had transformed their gym into a glowing dreamscape of twinkling fairy lights and floating silver balloons. The air was thick with the scent of too much cologne and the faint bite of cheap punch. Leah had spent most of the year as a quiet force, noticed but never loud about it. The kind of person people respected without needing to say it out loud. Sharp, kind, and self-assured. She never chased popularity. She didn't need to. Her presence alone was enough. That night, she stepped into the gym in a sapphire blue gown that caught the light with every movement. Her hair, swept up into a loose bun, left a few tendrils curling around her face like whispered secrets. She looked like she had walked out of an old Hollywood film, but carried herself like she didn't need the attention. She arrived with her closest friends, Maya and Jade, the three of them laughing as they navigated the crowded dance floor. The DJ spun throwbacks and awkward slow songs, and the three tried to dodge both. Yet no matter how packed the room was, eventually, all eyes found Leah. Especially Logan Price. Logan was the kind of guy who thrived in the spotlight, loud, cocky, always making himself the center of attention. His jokes weren't really jokes. They were warnings. If you didn't laugh, you might be next. And he had never liked Leah. He never said why, but everyone knew. Maybe it was because she never gave him the reaction he wanted. Maybe because she never shrank around him like others did. Most people played along with Logan to avoid becoming a target, not Leah. Earlier that year in English class, Logan had muttered some snide remarks under his breath about Leah thinking she was above everyone else. She hadn't even looked up from her notes when she responded. Just kept writing and said, clear as day. Maybe if you spent less time trying to be everyone's problem, you'd actually solve your own. The room had gone silent. Even Mr. Benton, their teacher, had paused mid-sentence. It was the first time someone had openly put Logan in his place, and he had never forgotten it. Prom was the perfect stage for his revenge. The moment everything shifted came after the crowning. Maplewood High had done away with the usual prom king and queen this year. Instead, they introduced a new system, prom royalty. 2 winners, no gender rules. Chosen by the senior class. When Leah's name was announced, the gym erupted. Shock crossed her face like she thought they had called the wrong person. Maya and Jade screamed, hugging her as she took a careful step forward in the heels she almost didn't wear. The crown, a delicate silver band, was placed on her head. A bouquet of deep red roses landed in her arms, and then that overplayed pop song everyone was sick of started up again. Logan stood at the back of the room, arms folded, jaw tight. The guy who used to win everything, pep rallies, homecoming court, class clown, had suddenly become nothing but background noise. You could almost hear the fuse inside him light. Not that anyone expected him to act on it so fast. Leah was stepping off the stage, bouquet in hand, eyes scanning the crowd for her friends. That's when Logan moved in. He wore his usual mask of fake charm, the one that fooled most people. He reached out a hand, and for a second, it looked like he might congratulate her. Some even thought he might finally let it go, but then, he shoved her. Not a bump, not a tap, a full force shove, both hands slamming into her chest. Wait a second. Tell us where you are watching from in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Leah staggered back. Her heels scraped against the polished gym floor. The bouquet wobbled in her grip, and as her arms flailed for balance, her body tensed like she was stopping herself from falling into something much deeper than just the floor. The music didn't stop, but the room did. Gasps, whispers. A few girls clutched their mouths. Teachers stood frozen, uncertain if they had really seen what they thought they had seen. Jade's voice rang out, sharp and furious. Are you serious right now? Logan just laughed, loud, ugly. Relax. I was just playing, he said, shrugging like it was all a joke. Didn't think a crown came with a force field. Nobody laughed, but Leah didn't cry. She didn't walk away. And what she did next, that's where everything changed. For a moment, the world stood still. Leah could feel the eyes of every single person in that gym pressing down on her, waiting for her reaction. But she wasn't thinking about them. She was thinking about the sharp heat that shot through her chest, the way her body had jolted backward, and the smug grin still plastered on Logan's face. She took a slow, deliberate step forward. The bouquet slipped from her fingers, hitting the floor with a soft thud. The silver crown on her head tilted slightly, but she didn't adjust it. Logan's smirk faltered. Leah met his gaze, her voice calm but edged with something dangerous. "And try that again," she said. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Even the teachers, who should have been stepping in by now, just watched, unsure of how to handle what was unfolding. Logan let out a short, forced laugh. "Oh, come on, it was just a—" Leah didn't wait for him to finish. She reached up and, with one swift motion, pulled the crown from her head and threw it at his feet. The metal clinked against the floor, rolling slightly before settling. "You want it so bad," she said. "Take it." For the first time that night, Logan looked unsure of himself. The confidence in his stance wavered, his fingers twitching at his sides. He had expected her to cry, to run, to cause a scene that made her look weak, but not this. A few people in the crowd whispered. Others just watched, wide-eyed. And then, before anyone could process what was happening, Leah turned on her heel and walked out of the gym. Maya and Jade exchanged a quick glance before hurrying after her, pushing through the stunned silence that had swallowed the room. Logan stood there, fists clenching and unclenching as the weight of what had just happened settled over him. But what none of them knew yet, what even Leah hadn't realized, was that this night was far from over. The cool night air hit Leah's face as she stepped outside. Her heart was pounding, not from fear, but from something else, something burning inside her, demanding to be heard. She clenched her fists, breathing deeply, steadying herself. Maya caught up first, grabbing her arm. "Though, are you okay?" Jade was right behind her. "That was insane. You owned him." Leah exhaled slowly. "I'm fine. She shook her head, trying to find the right words. "And I wasn't going to let him have that moment. Not the way he wanted." Maya nodded, squeezing her arm. "Well, you sure as hell made sure of that." Back inside the gym, the atmosphere had shifted. Logan wasn't laughing anymore. The usual supporters that hyped him up kept their distance. Even his closest friends looked uneasy. Coach Adams stepped in, voice firm. You need to leave, now." Logan's face darkened. "You serious? Over that?" Coach didn't blink. "You're lucky we're not calling your parents and the cops." Logan looked around, but no one backed him up, not this time. He scoffed, muttered something under his breath, and stormed out of the gym. No one followed. No one called his name. Outside, Leah stood tall, shoulders back, chest rising and falling with steady breaths. She wasn't just some girl who had been humiliated. She had turned the moment around. She had taken control of the narrative. And when Logan stormed past her without a word, it was clear he knew it too. Private messages, fake names, people dragging her. Leah scrolled through the comments, her fingers trembling. Some defended her, but others twisted the story. They said she was overreacting, that she was making it bigger than it was, that she was playing the victim when it was just a joke. She let the phone buzz in her hand. It was overwhelming, but she wasn't surprised. That's how it worked, right? Speak up, and people either lifted you up or tried to tear you down. But around noon, something happened that stopped her cold. A message from Logan. "Hey, can we talk?" She stared at it for a full minute. It didn't sound like him. Not the Logan from the gym. Not the one who shoved her and laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. She ignored it. 10 minutes later, another message. "I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I messed up." Then a longer one. He said he'd been going through stuff, how it wasn't about her, how he was used to being the favorite, and when he wasn't, he took it out on the wrong person. He ended with, "You didn't deserve that." "No one does. I know it's late, but I mean it." Leah stared at the screen. No anger, just a strange feeling in her chest, like her heart didn't know whether to forgive or walk away. She didn't reply. She didn't delete the message either. She just let it sit there. That evening there was an announcement on the school's website, a statement from Principal Harlow. "We are deeply proud of the courage shown by Leah Brooks and we want to make it clear that any form of harassment, physical or verbal, will not be tolerated. Every student deserves to feel safe and celebrated. Always. And that meant more than the crown. Monday morning at school was different. She wasn't just Leah anymore. People stopped her in the hall. Teachers smiled a little longer. Even the quiet kids, the ones who never spoke much, gave her small nods of respect. She wasn't trying to be a star. She was just trying to be herself, unapologetically. In English class, Mr. Keating used the first 5 minutes to talk about what had happened over the weekend. We saw something powerful, he said. We saw how words can protect or destroy, how silence can be strength, and how standing up doesn't always mean shouting. It can also mean telling the truth calmly while everyone is watching. No one said a word. They all knew who he was talking about. That day, when Leah walked into the cafeteria, there was a seat saved for her. But not just by Maya or Jade, by students who had never sat with her before. Some from different friend groups, some who used to keep their distance. It was like a quiet invitation. A reminder, you changed something here. She didn't become a celebrity. She didn't go viral in the world. But in that building, in that town, her story planted a seed. Because courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a girl in heels who gets shoved on prom night and chooses a microphone over revenge. Sometimes it's the silence that follows, the truth that echoes the longest. Sometimes the loudest statement isn't a scream. It's calm courage in the face of cruelty. Leah didn't fight back the way they expected. She didn't run. She didn't cry. She stood tall, and in doing so, reminded everyone watching that dignity is a form of resistance, and truth doesn't need to shout to be heard. So if you've ever been made to feel invisible, small, or powerless, remember, you don't need to prove your worth to anyone, because your story already matters.